friends, welcome to Conversations with June. Today we're going to be talking about capitalism in America and how that affects everybody. So what is capitalism? Capitalism is an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry are controlled by private owners for profit. So you're probably wondering, where did capitalism even start? Like, who decided to pioneer this economic system? That's a really great question, and to answer that, the history of capitalism started during the Industrial Revolution in Europe during the mid-17th to 18th century. The Industrial Revolution was where people started using machines and created factories to mass produce more goods like clothing, instead of making them by hand. This saved them a lot of time, resources, and gained a lot of profit, which is why it was a revolution. But the classical capitalist ideology really came into play by Adam Smith, a Scottish economist and philosopher who wrote a book titled An Inquiry into the Nature and Causes of the Wealth of Nations. The key points of the book were: 1, enlightened self-interest. When you produce and sell something, it's for profit, but you don't just sell anything. You sell something that consumers actually want. Both parties must mutually benefit. 2, limited government intervention. Governments should be involved in only defending their country, education, public works, enforcement of legal rights, and punish those who committed crimes, but not involved where they're taking money away from the people and the industries. 3, solid currency and free markets economy. But how did Adam Smith's ideology come into play in America? There are many different answers. However, the most sincere and genuine answer that I can provide is that when settlers came from Europe and colonized America, that's really when the ideology became a thing. In the article, it came in the first ships, Capitalism in America, written by Thomas K. McCrell. They wrote, in early years, Americans' ravenous appetite for land was born of European deprivation confronting New World opportunity. Demand, which had been pent up for centuries, suddenly encountered plentiful supply. The settlers' hunger for more and more territory thrust them relentlessly westward, where they could establish farms and ranches that they themselves could own. This was the American dream in its earliest form. And for the people living the dream, it had an aura of double-edged incredulity. There was disbelief not only at their own good fortune, but also at the back-breaking work required to capitalize on it. Now that's really deep, but that is also a really sad truth given Americans' history. So how does this affect people in America? Wealth inequality is one of the prime examples where there is a disparity in wealth in different social classes and incomes. In the article, Why Inequality is Growing in the US and Around the World, written by Fatima Z. Sumar, they wrote, US income inequality grew in 2021 for the first time in a decade. The richest 1% of Americans own 34.9% of the country's wealth. I know the point they made in that article was in 2018, the typical CEO earned 278 times as much as their typical employees. The problem with this is because of the fact that 1% of the richest Americans have so much money that they slow down economic growth and the poor are continuously struggling. This is the reality for a lot of Americans living in this country. A lot of living paycheck to paycheck. Some can't even live with a job, much less a paycheck. So what are the solutions? The solutions should be taxes, regulations, policy, and so on, so that the 1% richest Americans' wealth slow down, and also increase the minimum wage so that the wealth inequality and disparities slow down, and also people in poverty slowly get out of poverty. Now that is all for today. I'll be signing off. It's your host now. Bye.